She's been called the leading business mentor for online entrepreneurs in Europe. And she's on a mission to accelerate gender equality through female entrepreneurship and helps women start and scale their online businesses to 7 figures with her tough love and no nonsense approach to business and life. Hello, and welcome to the Hello You Show, where big dreams meet real action. Through transformative stories, a bit of neuroscience, and real conversations, this show is here to help you explore creating your next level life with authenticity and passion. I am Jessica Rice, a design techie and former engineering leader turned vision evolution coach on a mission to help other women rise up and lead a life of purpose. So get cozy and say hello again to the real you. Hello, welcome back to the Hello You Show. My name is Jessica Rice and I am your host. And today we have an incredible guest joining us. I am so excited to share with you this guest. There's going to be so many amazing insights you're going to receive. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Sigrun is an award-winning business coach, best-selling author, international speaker. She is the host of the Sigrun Show podcast. And let me just expand a little bit so that you're aware of who we are about to bring on. Sigrun has been featured in Forbes. She has numerous leading media publications in Europe. In 2022, she was accepted into the Hall of Fame of Ernst & Young's Entrepreneur of the Year Award in Switzerland. She is a TEDx speaker. She's won 5 German Stevie Awards, Hero of the Year, Entrepreneur of the Year, Solo Entrepreneur of the Year, Manager of the Year. It's incredible. So I just want to set the stage for you so that you're aware of who's about to come on, as well as just let you know that she is also married. She has 2 stepsons and she splits her time between Iceland and Switzerland. So let's go ahead and bring her on. Sigrun, I am so excited to have you joining us today. Thank you for coming on to our show.
Thank you. And thank you for what a wonderful introduction, Jessica. I am honored to be here with you today.
Well, just so that we are aware, I know that you are based out of Europe, but where are you joining us from today?
I am in my home office in Zurich, Switzerland. Yeah, I split between 2 countries because, I come from Iceland and my husband is from Switzerland. So I like to live in 2 places.
Well, 2 beautiful places at that. Switzerland is amazing. I haven't been to Iceland. The closest I've been is actually to Germany, where my father's family is from, but it's so gorgeous over there.
It is. I feel truly blessed. 2 beautiful countries.
Yes. So I know, obviously you have all these incredible accolades and accomplishments that you have achieved within your life. And this show is really about overcoming. It's about how do we overcome the challenges that we face within our lives so that we can go forth and actually pursue those greater dreams and passions, which is why I'm so excited to have you joining us today. Would you mind sharing with us a bit of your background? What brought you into where you are, your journey, so to speak?
Well, let's see how quickly I can do that. But yeah, I do think we all have challenges in our lives. I also believe that all of us have some dreams. And I was 16 years old when I visited the course. I had been sewing as a hobby for a number of years already at the age of 16. I even had some dreams of being a fashion designer, and my mother thought that's not a very practical path to follow, but she supported my hobby. And I was quite advanced at the age of 16, so I was buying all these magazines and I could sew whatever I wanted. So there came a point where I wanted to be able to sew something that I didn't have a pattern for. So I wanted to learn how to make sewing patterns. And I visited this course at a dressmaker's home. And there were other women there, but they were in their 40s and 50s, and I was 16. So we didn't have much to common besides our passion for sewing. I think it was an 8-week program. in the evening from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And we would sit down for one break in the middle of the evening. I would have my Coca-Cola bottle and they would be drinking coffee and talking amongst themselves. And I didn't have much to share with them. I just listened. But what I heard was quite frustrating for a teenager who is still very influenced from the environment. They all talked about their dreams, what they had wanted to do with their lives, all the wishes they had and what they had planned for themselves. But then they hadn't done it. They got married, they had children, they didn't get the qualifications or the degrees or the certifications, and therefore they didn't pursue their dreams. Time and money came up as well. But mostly what struck me was having children and being married, as if that somehow stopped them. And you have to know that Iceland is #1 in gender equality in the world since 50 years. And at this time, as I was growing up, we were also one of the leading countries in the world. And I was brought up, we had a female president from 1980 for 16 years. She was the first woman democratically elected as a female president in the world. So me, 16-year-old, I thought women can do anything. And there I was in this program.
Mm.
And I just heard the women say again, every week after week, how they could not do the things they wanted to do. And I was so mad. And I get mad when I tell the story. It's like it bubbles inside of me that they couldn't see a path. Whereas we know that being married or having children or maybe not having the perfect timing or all the money or all the skills, you can still follow your dream. Often it's here in your head, it's a mindset thing. And I did feel maybe society supports dreams of men more than dreams of women. And this was, of course, worse when I was 16. I am now 53 years old. And there were a couple of things that I decided. The course was long enough to really influence me. I became a changed person. I became, first of all, a feminist. I wanted to do anything I could do for gender equality. I would not let a man or children stop me from following my dreams. I would always follow my dreams. And if anyone tried to stop me, well, maybe they were not my right partner or spouse in life, or, I would get the support wherever I needed. And I decided to do something about gender equality. Then I kind of forgot all of that. For a few years, I was a heavy feminist. Men couldn't open up doors for me. I would wait for the doors to close and to open them myself. But it was such a profound experience that it did change my life. I went through 2 long-term partnerships and realized they were not the right man. They didn't support my dreams fully. Today, I've been married for 12 years. We've been together 16 years. He is my biggest supporter and will always say yes to any of my crazy dreams. We're still married, but it doesn't mean that we are together all the time. Maybe I sometimes go away for 3 weeks because I'm chasing a dream. I feel fully supported by my partner. Yeah. And then I got 2 bonus children and they support me too. But to make this a little bit faster, why I do what I do today, I went on and studied architecture. I didn't study fashion design. I studied architecture. I realized it wasn't really my dream at the end, but I was chasing a dream, and it's okay to figure out shortly before graduation, it was not my dream to be an architect. And then I switched to something else. I studied computer science, and I found myself suddenly CEO of a small software company. I had studied in Germany, moved back to Iceland. And one thing led to another. I became a role model for women who wanted to be a manager. I would say yes to every interview, because the only way you can really be out there and be a role model for other women or for those who come after you, your daughters or nieces, is when you say yes to a podcast interview, yes to media, yes to PR opportunities. And I knew this already at the age of 30 or so. I had forgotten about my why, which was the story that happens when I was 16. But I knew that I had to say yes to these opportunities and never say no. Always say yes if you can. If it's an interview, say yes. It doesn't matter how small the outlet is or how big. Sometimes the smaller outlets actually have a bigger impact than those in the big media where maybe nothing happens and nothing comes out of that. And same thing happens when someone asked me, do you want to give a TEDx talk? And I was like, well, it was on my vision board. It was my dream, but I thought I had to be 10 years in business to deserve to have a TEDx talk. But I was 1 year in business. I had a person on a phone call with me that was thinking of working with me. And she said, hey, I happen to be on the board of TEDx. Do you want to speak? And I'm like, yes. So saying yes to all these opportunities led me ultimately to starting my own business 11 years ago. And I had been in business for a few months when I realized I am doing my why now. Took a few years to get here. You know, I was a CEO of several companies. Yes, I said yes to media. But was I really advancing gender equality? I don't know, maybe a little bit to being a role model. But now I do that. 99% of my clients are women. I am encouraging them to start their own business. I think online business is one of the best ways to allow women who still want flexibility and freedom, maybe stay at home with young kids or maybe have some health issues like I had myself. I can't imagine sitting at a desk in somebody's office and have to ask for permission if I can go for a walk in the middle of the day to take care of my health. Things like that. So I think online business is in many ways a dream situation for anyone who has any kind of life circumstances where they just cannot work at a desk from 9 to 5 and even have to commute to an office and all of that. And yes, every time a man emails me and says, can I sign up? And I said, yes, I have nothing against men. It's just that what happened to me when I was 16 has shaped me for the rest of my life. And I have to do this. Like I literally have to do this. I think this is why I'm on this earth, is to make a dent in the universe, to inspire women to start their own business. And those who already started, aim for more than 6 figures, because when I saw the stats, they are from the Business Bureau in the US, I think, or something, small business. That 90% of women-owned businesses make less than 6 figures and have no employees. And this is very bad for the economy, because as soon as we can start to employ people, the wheels of the economy are turning faster. So I encourage women to think beyond the 6 figures. If you would live in Switzerland or Iceland and earn 6 figures, that's not even a decent salary, because let's say 50% is cost, then you only have 50,000 salary. In Switzerland, they would kick you out because it's not enough to live off. So, and then the 7 figures is another milestone, and not everybody has to go there. And only a small percentage of women actually wants to have a bigger business. But the impact you can have at that level, you know, worked with 9,000 clients now in the last 11 years. And they come back to me and I'm like, I cannot remember the names of all the 9,000 people, but it gives you so much joy when you see how it has changed their lives and businesses. And then I feel, okay, I'm really living my why.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that and going into depth a little bit more. I think it's incredibly inspiring to so many women who, we sit on the fence. And I think we've all experienced what you're talking about, which is, oh, we can't do this. There's a lot of can'ts that happen when starting at a young age, right? As young girls, like you were experiencing, where it's kind of like, here's your dreams, but dampen them down a little bit. And you brought up a few things in there that made me curious. And number one was, to be honest, it sounds so magical the way you describe it. It was just like all these things started to take place for you. what do you feel like were the greatest challenges that you faced? Because clearly your mindset was on point in the fact that you were driven. But what do you feel like some of the challenges were that you faced in coming to this point?
Well, when I went from one degree to another, it was just natural for me always to follow my dreams. I think I was brought up that you study one thing and then you do that for the rest of your life. But I guess by deciding to always follow my dream, I have no regrets. I studied architecture. I never worked as an architect. I have no regrets, zero regrets. I think my next dream led me to computer science, and then I studied an MBA. And did I have to do 4 master's degrees? Probably not, but why not? I think we are all put on this earth to just have experiences, and these were the experiences that I wanted to have at each point in my life. Uh, I think what really the challenge, I've gone through a horrible breakup, which really left, you know, what do you call it, a hole in my heart. And I think that happens to everyone, that there is some sadness, sorrow, regrets, maybe around having wasted time on the wrong person or the wrong thing. But interestingly, through my studies, I have none of that. It's only actually this one relationship where I said, oh, I could have saved a few years and not be so hurt. But when it comes to then following this path that I'm on, is that I had been running small businesses in Iceland. I am doing a degree in London, and I decide to go to a Tony Robbins seminar. I was curious about this guy. This is 2008, so quite some time ago. And I sat next to a man and his mother. And I really liked these people, and we stayed in touch. And today, that's my husband.
Mm.
And he was from Switzerland, but his mother was British, so Swiss-British. So we spoke English right away together. And I had lived in Switzerland before. So I was on crossroads there, I must say. I was offered a very good job in Sweden to become CEO of Nissan, a car company in Sweden. And then I had on this side Switzerland, which is the two countries that actually Americans confuse a lot. Switzerland, Sweden, sounds the same. I was offered a job in Sweden, but there was this man that I was starting to fall in love with, based in Switzerland. And I was in my late 30s, and it's very unusual for me to have picked love. I was very career driven, very ambitious, as you can say, with really thinking this is my best career move. This is a chance of a lifetime. But I picked love.
Mm.
I picked love because I felt I was at an age where I said, okay, it's almost now or never. I need to try this out. This could be the one. So I come to Switzerland, and it was very hard to get a job. It took me 6 months to find something. And then when I found a job, it was not as exciting as my previous CEO jobs. It was not even 9 to 5. It was more like 9 to 7 p.m., sitting at my desk, writing business plans. And yeah, it's a very desk-driven job. I didn't have to have many meetings. And I developed RSI, repetitive strain injury. And I didn't know it at the time. I just started to get pain in my shoulder. Then that pain would lead up to pinching ear pain. Then I would get headaches in the front, and then over on the top and the back, pain down my, back. And I was oblivious to this. Like, is this related to my job? I would then go on summer holiday thinking this goes away. I was on summer holiday for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I came back to work, and it was even worse.
Mm.
And it came a point where I could not work anymore. And as you have maybe heard, I am a hard worker. I'm probably the A type of person. I love working. Workaholic probably is my problem on the other side. And not being able to work because of pain was really bad. also for my confidence, for my self-confidence. I felt like, who am I if I can't work? It took 6 months or 7 months actually, until I could work again. In the meantime, I had lost my job. I had started another job where I could work from home, but that required long drives to customers. And so I lost that job too. So I had lost the job twice in 2 years. And that was not like me, the ambitious woman that is, gets best rating possible from her bosses. And suddenly I was there like, I am sick and I've lost 2 jobs. And I had to go to the unemployment agency and said, hey, I need to get help here. I felt quite embarrassed. I had to swallow my pride and say I need help. And they looked at my CV and they said, you are unemployable. And I'm like, what? Yeah, too many different degrees, too much experience, and you've been a CEO for 10 years. Like, nobody's going to hire you because you're overqualified for most jobs that are available. And I even tried to apply for jobs where I felt it would fit perfectly, but I didn't even get an interview. So they suggested that I start my own business. So that's what I did. It wasn't easy, but I'm glad I got this advice. It was probably the push I needed because I was starting to doubt everything myself. Like, the wise thing to do when you have some health challenges to start a business, I wouldn't necessarily advise someone, but based on my own experience, I know you just have to take it at your own pace. And maybe that's the best thing ever because now I can go for walks in the middle of the day. I have a personal trainer at 1 p.m. for 30 minutes. I make sure I don't sit too long at my desk. I have a much better health work-life balance than I ever had when I was working for someone else.
What I love, there's so much in there. There's so much rich wisdom that you just told all of us around, choosing love in certain cases, being wise around that. And one of the things that stands out to me as well is the fact that you pivot. So I think a lot of times when we reach a certain point in our careers even, so it's one thing to have dreams when we're young, but then we start working, we start doing all these things, we get our degree, maybe we follow the same path, and we feel that we have to stay there. We feel stuck. And it sounds like what you did was, let's try everything. Let's see how all of this goes. Let's find that fit. Do you feel like that's been a recipe for your success?
Yeah, I think so. I was in the middle of so I did my architecture degree that I did fully without working on the side. When I moved to Iceland from Germany and started to do computer science on the side because I was suddenly in a software company. So I was like, I'm an architect in a software company, so let's study computer science. But then I did it as a side study. And I wasn't taking it too seriously, to be honest. I just did whatever I could do, 1 or 2 subjects per year. I was quite slow doing the study. But then I was suddenly a CEO. And I'm like, okay, now I'm a CEO. I have an architecture degree, unfinished computer science degree. And what I should actually have is an MBA. So I was like, what do I do now? I looked at how many subjects did I still have left to get my master's in computer science. And I'm like, I went, I think it was February. And some of the courses that started in January, I contacted the university. I'm like, can I go into 1 or 2 subjects that have already started a month ago? And they were like, I don't know. It feels a little bit late. We're not sure you can catch up. And I said, I swear you, I can. Like, when I'm determined, I can do it. So they let me in on those subjects. And that made it possible for me that in spring, I could do my thesis so that exactly by October, the MBA started and I was finishing my thesis. There was an overlap of 2 weeks. And it was not easy, but I to also have, I was so close to finishing. I didn't want to have an unfinished degree. I knew that the computer science degree wouldn't help me much, but I was like, but I've still spent time on it. And, in the future, it's better to say that I actually have a finished degree than a half-finished one. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's incredible. So when you then decided to launch into your business, because I think that that's like what you described too is what a lot of, I think women are worried too is like, well, am I overqualified or what happens when I leave or, what are all the choices that I have available to me? When you launched into your newer business, did you know right away what you wanted it to be or did it evolve over time?
Oh, well, when the unemployment office suggested that I start my own business, I had to make a business plan so they would support me. And in this business plan, I had all kinds of ideas. That right business plan for other people because I had been doing it for startups. I had been writing a travel book for families who want to travel around Iceland. So I had a half-finished travel book. Photography was one of my serious hobbies, what we call a very expensive hobby. I had a photo studio at home. I had professional lights, professional camera. I was doing a lot of different things and I got very confused myself. And I understand it so much when clients come to me. I was like, I have so many passions. I have so many things I can do. And I'm like, yes, I know. Aha, but the internet can only know you for one thing. And in the beginning, my first version of my website, it said business coaching and photography. I'm so embarrassed today, but it's a funny story that I can tell those clients. And every time I tell that story, I said, would you go to someone that does business coaching and photography? Do you think they're good at both? What if your dentist had like a website, they will fix your teeth, but then on the side it's like you can buy their aquarelle paintings. Would you go to that dentist? Probably not. So I tell that story to emphasize that I went through the same, thinking in my head and a lot of overthinking. Like, I think the only way you get out of that overthinking and start doing. So that was one thing that I actually tried doing. I wanted to build an online shop with Icelandic designer products. So I put up a Shopify test website. So it never went public. It was just me testing, putting up products and descriptions, talking to vendors, talking to two partners in Iceland that could work with me because I was based in Switzerland, so they could source the products. And went on. I wasn't doing this full time, but let's say I did spend 3-4 months on this and took it quite seriously. Until one day I went to Google Keywords and looked if somebody was looking for Icelandic design. And turns out nobody's looking for it. They look for Scandinavian design, not Icelandic design. The only people looking for Icelandic something design are maybe tourists that have been in Iceland. They forgot to buy something and they want to buy it. But that's a tiny, tiny group of people. It is not worth building a whole business around it. But this was more like good for me because I was starting to get doubts. I'm like, shipping and returns. Do I have to have things in multiple sizes? What if people don't like the color? And I've sent it to Italy and now they have to ship it back to Iceland. This is going to be very, very expensive, the whole return thing and shipping. And I was starting to fall out of love with the idea. Mm-hmm. But the cool thing was I was doing it. I was putting up the website. I was talking to people. I was thinking everything through. So this was, for me, never wasted time. I think when you waste time is when you think about something for weeks and months and maybe even years, and you don't do anything about it. You're just thinking. Mm-hmm. That's where you waste time. If you actually sit down and start to do something like I did with the online shop, those 3 to 4 months, I see this as a lesson. I tried it, I figured out I don't want it, and I never have to wonder in the future again if this would have been a good idea. I found out it was not a good idea for me. How did I come to what I do today? I got frustrated with my lack of progress, so I started to blog, and I started to blog about how to find your true passion, how to find the right business idea, how to find your passion from your childhood stories. It was all about passion, that was the phase I was in myself. And then a little bit further, I started to blog about other things. So my blog became almost my own therapy. It was just things that were on my mind, and they turned out to be helpful to other people. And then I created a free course, How to Find Your True Passion and the Right Business Idea. 134 people signed up. And I was like, wow. And I put together exercises on how you can find your true passion, the right business idea. Did I know that this would help them? I was not 100% sure, but I thought it would. And since it was a free course, why not try that? Turns out it helped them. And this became one of the keys that I teach today. I teach women how to start their online business with a free course. And I did this 11 years ago. Like, it was just a thing that I came up with. Like, hey, let's have a free course. Like, not a free challenge or a boot camp or a web, but actually a course where people have a start and finish and get like solid output. So I was onto something. Still, I was doing what we say spaghetti marketing. I was all over the place for 9 months. And it wasn't until I finally bit the bullet and invested in myself. The thing was, I had been a CEO for 10 years, 4 master's degrees. So I thought, I know it all. I don't need a coach. I don't need any help. I can figure this out. I can watch what other people are doing and I'll just do it. I tried for 9 months, didn't work. So then I invested in myself, and finally this how to sell online that started to click for me. And I think it's interesting because I knew how to start a business. I've been running business for 10 years. I knew how to sell a website. I knew how to sell many things, but this online thing is different. You can't be doing so many things. You have to be known for one thing, and you have to have the path for people to go on with you. It's very different from a offline location-based business where people maybe come to you for 10 different things. In online, it's much more niched and narrow, and we have to decide what we want for.
Well, I love that you took some time to figure that out. I think that is probably the next hardest thing is like, how do we all know what is it that we're supposed to do? And some of us who are multi-talented and multi-creative, I know my background's not the same, but I have a software engineering background and started out in design and e-commerce and all of those things. So moving into business, it's a whole different ballgame, especially thinking like, oh, I know exactly what I'm doing. So I think that when you were talking about how people start to define what their passions are, how important do you feel like it is to have a clear vision about what it is that you're wanting to create?
I think actually you should start with a vision of what your life should look like, and forget about first what the business idea is. That's my personal opinion, and I think this applies to a lot of women, because why are we starting a business? It's mostly for freedom and flexibility. So there have been studies that show that the biggest reason why women go into entrepreneurship is freedom. For men, it's more about money. So if that's your reason, which I think it is for most women, for me, it was health, taking care of my health, living in 2 countries. I had a list, and I made a list that was non-negotiable. Having lived in Switzerland for some time and getting 20 days holidays, I was like, no, I want to split my time between 2 countries. If my parents get sick, I want to be able to hop on a plane and fly over there and be there for them. And I'll take my business with me if I can, or I'll take a break. So I guess this is easier the older you are, because then you're like, I don't care what people think. This is my life, and I want to design it however I want. So I made a list. So it was definitely location independent, splitting my time, health, taking breaks in the middle of the day. I had a few things that were absolutely non-negotiable. I would, think about what does my dream day look like, work day, or dream week look like when it's a working week. And again, just constantly thinking, what is my list? And then brainstorm about all these different, I had the travel books, I had the photography, I had the writing business plan. The business coaching part came a little bit later. I think it's because already 11 years ago, business coaches were looked at a little bit like, I don't know, oh, yet another business coach. I think it's because there's a lot of unqualified business coaches out there, and that kind of puts a bad light on everybody else, even the qualified ones. And so for a while, I didn't want to touch that subject. I was a little bit like, if you read the book The Alchemist by Paulo,
Mm-hmm.
the perfect business idea is already here inside of you. It's inside your heart, but maybe you're avoiding it. Maybe because of, in this case, like some people bad talking about business coaches, and I didn't want to be one of them. So I really just like go around the world like the boy in The Alchemist and try to find other ideas that I could be okay with. Realizing that at the end of the day, that actually I was a Dale Carnegie teacher. I had doing business consulting for companies. I've been a CEO. There were all the things that just pointed to me being a business coach, but I didn't want to see it. So that was a little bit of a kind of internal struggle until like the treasure is here, right in your backyard. Do it. And it helps if you list all the things that you think you could do, and using the ikigai. So good at it. You love doing it. The world needs it, and somebody willing to. And there are things that we maybe love doing, they're good at, but the world, yeah, they might need it, but nobody's willing to pay for it. And that's a lot of women that have that. And I said, then you start a charity. But first, let's go to the people who can and want to pay. So that helps a lot. And then you take that business idea and then you go and check. Does it fulfill my must-haves? Is it location independent? Can I live in two countries? Can I take care of my health? And this is kind of a process that I help some of my clients who are still at the very starting point go through it. Say, it has to lifestyle first and then business second. And if you want to start a different type of company, like I'm also in the startup space. I'm a mentor for startups. I did training with MIT where I can coach startups. I love that space too. It comes from a very different, people don't come from the freedom aspect into it and lifestyle aspect. They come, hey, I want to change the world and I want to build $1 billion company. And said, yeah, it's great. And I help them coach those companies, but not for me. It's not for me. My lifestyle is more important than anything else at this point in my life.
I think it's incredible. I'm so inspired listening to you. I think there's a lot of people. I'm going to say people because there's women for sure, but then there's people too who feel the same way. And I know that some of my clients start to question when they've been in their role for a number of years, is it too late? And what would you say to that?
Oh, I have seen, so as I told you, I've been doing this for 11 years and the age group is getting older in a good way. I have women starting a new business and they're 70 years old. And, my parents are just turning 80 and I know they are not in the mood to start a new business at 80, but I see so many women at 70 that have the energy, the enthusiasm, the ambition, and they're just like, I'm going for it. I'm starting a new thing at 70. And I think it's amazing. I love it. I think it's never too late to follow your passion. Just imagine, even if you just do it for 3-4 years, how different is this time going to be afterwards? I've started to think about it. When you're over 50, you start to think about, okay, there comes a time where I cannot move. Maybe my health has deteriorated. Maybe I cannot travel anymore. And what will I have? I want to have no regrets. I want to have memories. I want to have experiences. I want to be able to say to myself, at least I tried. Even if it's maybe at an older age, And even if I only did it for 1, 2, or 3, or 4, or 5 years, at least I tried. At least I did it. And that joy from that experience, that's something that no one can take away from me. No one is going to be saying, oh, I wished I had, done this or that. Doing nothing is not going to bring you joy.
Mm-hmm.
It's bring joy.
Mm. Well, I know I was listening to one of your podcasts too, and you were talking about, for gender equality, what you were discussing was that we can't think too small. What, can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. A lot of women start, a lot of women also come to me when they realize they actually have expensive hobby. So they've been doing something for a while. One of my clients just comes to mind to explain this in a better way. Nutritionist, PhD in nutrition, very qualified woman. She's a bit older than me. I think she's 5 years older, so around 58, 59. And for 15 years, she's been doing one-on-one nutrition consulting, earning about 100,000 a year, but 90,000 costs. Renting a cooking studio, writing a lots of recipe books that are never bestsellers and you don't earn much money with. And first, we just had to do a massive cleanup. Actually, my CEO job earlier was a turnaround. So one of the things I enjoy doing is cleaning up companies and cutting costs. I don't do that so much today, but if I have clients that are in that situation, we first start to clean up and remove everything that's not necessary for the business. And then going into scale, like not doing one-on-one, then actually having a course or a group coaching program or something that is a scale. It took her 5 years to go to $1 million in revenue. And now she sells an academy where she charges $5,800. But she used to charge like $50 an hour. So it's so important that women, she was just thinking small. She had a 6-figure business for 15 years. And that sounded good to her and to everyone else around her. It sounded like she'd made it, but nobody was really looking under the hood and saying, well, what cost do you have? Are you able to pay yourself a decent salary? Are you actually able to take out dividends so that you can pay down your mortgage or pay off your apartment? Like, are you actually creating financial wealth? And so thinking bigger it doesn't mean that you have to be like, oh, I'm going to be a millionaire or billionaire. It's like, no, you should be able to pay yourself a decent salary. The business you're running should be, I want to call it a cash cow. This is where the cash should be coming from. So you can take something out and build maybe a second business or pay off your mortgage. This was a huge step for me when I became 100% debt free. I actually have zero debt. Having some debt is good, I know, but there is a part of me after always having a mortgage my whole life, and leasing a car and all that stuff that you do, to just be 100% debt free for a while and just be proud of it. And then I can go back into buying a house and having mortgage again. It's so free. It's so free, because if things don't go well for some reason, we never know what happens next. At least I don't have mortgage or rent to pay. And so for women, they're thinking too small. Yeah. And I've been there too. When I started my business, I had no plans of having a multiple 7-figure business. Absolutely. I was just hoping I could replace my previous salary. And I think that's the first step. And that's okay. But then we should be able to do more. We should be able to go above 6 figures, employ people. We should be able to aim higher and possibly create a wonderful life for ourselves and have a bigger impact, be able to give back, to give to charity. We should not be doing that if we're just making 50K or 100K a year. I love that. I've met Richard Branson twice. And I specifically asked him this question. I said, a lot of my clients come to me and they say, I want to impact the world. And I get very frustrated myself. I'm like, maybe you should earn some money first and maybe actually be able to provide for your family first before you try to change the world. And I was happy to hear that he's of the same opinion. First, you build a profitable business. And then when you have that profitable business, you can think about starting a nonprofit or a charity or how you give back.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Sage wisdom for sure. I'm so appreciative of all of the time and the insights that you've been sharing with us today. And what is the best way for people to reach out to you if they want to contact you?
So I am Sigrun Com. So there are lots of Sigruns in Iceland. I know this is a unique name outside Iceland, but there's lots of Sigruns in Iceland. So I chose Sigrun Com in one word as my handle on all social media channels. So whether it's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok, not so active there, but at least I have an account there. LinkedIn, I'm huge on LinkedIn. Yeah, and my website, sigrun.com. And then I have a gift, of course, for your listeners. If they would like to try out that free course, the one that I stumbled upon 11 years ago and was the first path for me into online business, and where you are not selling your time, but you're selling value. I am still teaching this today. I have had 4,000 women go through this method. And I wrote a book, and only when I go on a podcast, you can get the book for free. So that's a treat for the podcast listeners, for those who want to, create a course and start to make money online.
Well, thank you so much. We'll definitely put everything into the show notes so that everyone has access to all of the wealth of wisdom that I know you're bringing. What would you tell women who, they're on the cusp, they're thinking about, I want to do something more with my life. Do I take that leap? What would you say?
I gave a talk. I was asked to speak. This is probably Ottawa, Canada, 2015. And there was something like, I don't remember exactly what I said, but you have to go for it. Otherwise, you don't know. And since you don't want to have any regrets, you got to do it. So that's a little bit rephrase of what I actually said. But I collected stories where I was very hesitant. I moved to Switzerland with 2 suitcases to follow a man that I had met in total 10 days. Total of 10 days. And I thought to myself, at least you got to try. And that's what I did. And also job opportunities or, trying out something new. At least you got to try. I can't help to always think of where do I want to be when I'm 90 or 100 years old? I hope we'll all get really old. Maybe we turn 120, but let's say I'm still just aiming for 100. So let's stay with that. When I'm 100 years old, I want to be able to look back at my life and said, at least I tried.
Well, I love that message. I think that all of us can really be inspired and moved by that and reminded that we have this one precious life. And so thank you for coming onto the show, sharing with us, spending some time. And just, you are a gift. So thank you for coming along.
Thank you for saying that, Jessica. It's been a pleasure. And I am looking forward to hear from your listeners too, what they thought of us today. It was great to be there.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. Make sure you tune in again next week for another incredible episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Hello You Show. It's been a pleasure to have you with us on this journey today. If you found value in our conversation and want to support the show, please take a moment to like, follow, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd also deeply appreciate it if you could leave us a review. Your feedback not only helps us grow, but also enables others seeking inspiration and authenticity to discover our community. Until next time, keep embracing your story with purpose.